those people wouldn't even pave their roads if they didn't have to.
Well, we're not solicitors there anymore, so.
Right. We're live on Porchcast Pottstown.
Okay.
Yeah. There's nobody watching us yet.
Okay.
But
Well, heads up there, Matt.
well,
Thank you.
it was just a little preview of some stuff that we are going to be talking about, which is library funding, because Mindy Lipsky is with us today.
Oh, and you didn't even put the overlay.
I'm going to do that right now,
Okay.
just for a couple of seconds so that people know where, you know what I'm talking about.
I know. All right. And I'll share it once it comes up in my Facebook.
Catching a lot of traction on this trash team and the resource team that I'm putting together through the Pottstown Cluster of Religious Communities. We're up to like 37 people that have volunteered. I got a call today about some people that want to donate money to us.
Oh, great. We like money.
Yeah.
It's
And
helpful.
I do want to talk, like there are some people that keep asking me, well, I'd like to get involved, but I really just don't want to be picking up trash. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, money is good.
That you can give money.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is like picking up trash is just the surface of this thing.
Right.
There's layers deep below just picking up the trash. We're actually working on trying to collaborate with other nonprofits, other NGOs, non-governmental organizations. And in order to organize and collaborate on the way that the donations are given out to the public, because that is causing some waste. Not just a waste of the actual materials that are given out, but imagine if there's 4 organizations giving out tents to one individual. You can only use one tent.
Right.
And then think of the
like
time.
That person has a place to store those items.
Correct.
Right.
And then the other part of it too is think about those other 3 organizations. All has administration, they have volunteers, they have paperwork. So all of that time and effort is quote unquote wasted as well.
Right. Could be put to better use.
Not so
duplicating
it's
services.
not just picking up trash.
Right.
We've also had some people that have made some very excellent recommendations on solving or addressing. We're never going to solve,
it, right.
but we've had some really good recommendations from the public and from some of the volunteers that are working with us on how we can address the trash issues. Like I had a meeting last night with Ray Amori. He's got some really good ideas.
Great.
Now, whether these ideas are actually implementable, that's why we're going to have to talk to the borough and the NGOs and the citizens to figure out exactly what can be done. Right. But don't go thinking that this is just another cutesy photo op trash picker up.
Afternoon of picking up trash.
There's substance behind this thing.
Right.
For those that are concerned that there's no substance behind it, I'm here to tell you that there is.
I don't think anybody would think that there's no substance behind it. So
I'm just alleviating those
fears. We like
fears.
to talk about trash. We like to talk trash and talk about trash.
All the above.
All of the above. So I'm going to do what we know are really bad at doing, which is introducing our guest right away. Oh, we already just talked for 5 minutes before we introduced our guest. So our guest is Mindy Lipsky of the executive director of the Pottstown Regional Public Library. Purple.
Yes.
I wore purple today.
Purple's my favorite.
It wasn't even on purpose. And you have purple in your hair.
I do.
Yes,
I do somewhere.
Yeah. So we'd like to talk about the library on the show because the library is a very important part of any community.
Yep.
And we're eager to hear about how the Pottstown Regional Public Library, I'm just going to call it the Pottstown Library because it's too long.
That's totally fine.
Is changing and keeping up with the modern needs of the citizens.
That's
right?
correct.
We talk about all of that stuff. So we'll just say hi to a couple of people here. Diane is here. Vance, hello. Thank you for tuning in. Vance is 4 of our viewers on the phone, the computer, in the lounge, YouTube. Thank you. He's on all of the platforms.
All the platforms. That's awesome.
Thank you. Hi, Mom. Thank you for tuning in.
But if more people did that, that would help us. You know what I mean? If you are watching on your TV, it can't hurt just to log on your phone too.
Right. Yeah, it goes into our algorithm.
Facebooks don't know who's
right.
You know what I mean?
Watching on multiple devices.
No.
Exactly. But we don't want to skew those numbers for our own purposes.
We absolutely do.
Yes.
100%.
So
Cute.
I shared an article today from the New York Times called "A Love Letter to Libraries: Long Overdue." See what they did there? Long
Yes.
overdue. About and if you can, I know that the New York Times is a paid has a paywall, but sometimes you can read for free a few articles.
You know where you could probably go and read the New York Times for free?
You probably could go to the library.
You could probably head down to the library and go in there
Yes.
and read it for free.
Right.
You could probably stay at your house and just look on the consortium websites and find all kinds of newspapers.
Right. So anyway, it was an article. It was like a photo editorial with pictures from libraries from across the country, and just talking about how libraries are not just books, and they've never been just books.
Right.
And is it true that Ben Franklin invented the modern free library?
It's a possibility. He at least established the one in Philadelphia.
It says that, but I think you're right. I think he established one in Philadelphia. I don't know that he did the first library, because there was libraries well before his time.
Right.
So,
But, well, did you learn that in your?
I learned that in my master's classes. Yes.
Getting your master's in library sciences. Is that what it is?
Master of Information in Library
Got
Sciences.
it. Okay. So Mindy has been at the library since 2018 and started out part-time.
Very
part-time, and is now the executive director.
That is true.
Right. So tell us a little bit about that journey. You do not have a background per se in library management or library information services.
Correct. I do have a background in management.
Right.
But not library management. I actually, my mom had passed away. I was running two businesses. I was the CEO of two businesses, and I was like really grieving, and I couldn't be entrepreneurial. So my pastor actually had said, why don't you just get a job where you can punch in, punch out 10 hours a week? The library's good. It'd be quiet.
It's quiet. It's nice. It's like,
The first day I was there, I realized it was not quiet.
Mm-hmm. So people aren't just walking around going,
exactly. No, it's definitely not quiet. Yeah. But what I did learn was how much a library can do for a community, and I totally fell in love. I've lived in Pottstown since 1998, and I really just wanted to enhance what we were offering at the library. So I came up with a bunch of programs, and I started moving up the ladder. I ended up being youth services coordinator, ran that for about a year, and then I helped the current director with a lot of the business side of it, because my background is business.
Right.
And, when she moved on, I applied for the position and was interim for a few months, and I was appointed February 28th of last year was when I was appointed as executive director.
Right, so coming up on your 1 year
That's
anniversary.
right.
Congratulations.
That's right.
So
That's me. Sorry.
We talked about this a little bit before we got on the air, but so they hired somebody with no library background, other than that your work over the last 4
Correct.
years.
Yes.
But it's interesting, and it is a business.
It is.
It is a business. So why shouldn't it be run by a business person?
Exactly.
And because there's a lot of facets to it that are not library and information sciences. There's facilities and there's personnel and all of those things.
All of it.
Right.
All of it.
Everything that goes into running a business.
Yes. And I had already started my master's because I had fallen in love with the library and what the library can do for the community. And I knew that was probably someplace I was going to stay long term. So I had started my master's program. But once I got into the executive director position, I realized all of my jobs I've ever had in my whole life have now culminated into this position. So it's finance and business background and coaching and, personnel and dealing with people and networking and fundraising and all of the things I've ever done, for all of the hats I've worn. And, it just really is interesting. I'm finishing my master's in May, and a lot of the stuff in my master's program isn't really helping me be executive director. It's helping me in library land,
right,
and helping me to understand services, and it's helping me understand all the cataloging and the barcoding and all
The
that.
Dewey Decimal System.
The Dewey Decimal System, yes. But it, isn't really helping with
Right.
the management of it. So I'm working with Pennsylvania Library Association. I have a lot of great contacts there, and we're kind of sharing information about
Mhm.
that. And I'm also talking with my advisor at Penn West Clarion, and just kind of saying maybe add a couple more courses, for this. And I think that goes across the board for many
For
degrees.
anything,
Exactly.
Right? So ask any of the attorneys in this office how many basic accounting and business
Mhm.
management courses that they've taken. Not very many. And same with the trades. People
Right.
are become a master plumber, but they don't necessarily know how to manage their receivables.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely. I was teasing the plumber that we use because we get lots of plumbing issues. But it takes him so long to send a bill, and I'm just like, don't forget to send the bill.
But that's okay. You can have that float.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. I just don't want him to think we're stiffing him or anything. But yeah.
So we're getting Bill Brogley, who I believe used to be on the
He
board.
is on the board.
Or is
He's
currently on the
still
board.
currently
Yeah,
on the
thanks
board,
for
yes.
tuning in. William Paul Brogley says to ask you about the serious day-to-day challenges she and the staff deal with. Well, maybe we can get to that, or maybe want to chew into it. I think any library probably, it's a free space.
It is a free space.
And it's open to the public.
It's open to the public.
And that means that everybody is welcome, as long
That
as
is
they're
true.
as long as they're not being disruptive or
Exactly.
presenting a danger to themselves
Exactly.
or others. But
Exactly.
so it is a place where you can loiter.
Right.
It is.
But before we get into that, right, let's talk about some of the things that people can do at the library that they might not necessarily think about.
Okay.
So I'm thinking about, besides books,
Which is the obvious. Yeah.
Which is obvious.
right,
yeah.
we're taking books off the table.
Okay.
Right.
So-
Everybody knows. We'll talk about these
We'll
books
talk about
later.
these, yes.
But in addition to books, what other kind of things can people check out at the library? What can they get at the library?
So we have soup to nuts pretty much, and we are adding things all the time. So we have cake pans. If you want to make a birthday cake that's in a
What?
shape,
Uh-huh.
you can rent a pan.
Like, I want to
Bake
make a
it.
bunny rabbit for
Exactly.
Easter.
Rent the pan, clean it.
Mhm.
We ask you to
Please.
clean it.
Please clean it.
Right.
Make sure you get the stuff
Return
out
it
of the
back.
corners.
Exactly. And then, so you don't have to pay that $30-$40 for the cake pan. We just added a paranormal investigator kit. That
Okay.
You can take that out. You can check it out and
What?
check it back in.
Okay, so I
So
know
you want-
some of you might live in a house what you think might
Yeah.
be haunted.
Check it out.
So is it like infrared cameras and
So
stuff?
we had an event in October with the Paranormal Investigating podcast group. So you can
Okay.
check out that podcast someplace else on the interweb someplace. And it was, for fun. They did a little investigation. And we gave a tour and gave some of the staff stories of the, experiences that we've had.
Is there
and
activity at the library?
The staff will say yes.
Okay.
Yes. I don't find it to be anything like malevolent or anything.
Sure.
I find it to be like things like you hear books sliding. Occasionally you hear like someone clearing their throat and like you're the only one in the building and, things like that. So it's more sounds.
Right.
We find books flying that have definitely flown off the shelf and are open and things like that. But it's, it's harmless
Sure.
stuff. So,
But what bad ghost would ever be in a library?
I know. But the paranormal investigators gave us like a list of things that would be useful for people. So it's recommended by them. I didn't create the kit, so I don't know 100%. I know that there was that thing that's the EMF reader, like if it like the electromagnetic
frequency?
field or
Yeah,
something.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know it has that in there. It has like those little wand things that go back and forth. But,
Cool.
so we have things like that. We have different kinds of kits. We are working on our library of things. The problem right now is that we don't have space for a lot of that
Right.
stuff. So, I'm hoping to renovate in, the next couple of years, but, we have audiobooks. We have them on CD, but we also have these great playaway systems that are like MP3 players, and you can plug them into your car. You can just put your headphones into them. Like they run on battery. You don't need Wi-Fi or anything like that. So we have those.
Movies.
We have DVDs and movies. We have online things. We have Overdrive and Libby, which you can rent books, ebooks or audiobooks or movies or documentaries. We have Hoopla. We have lots of e-resources that people really did use during the pandemic. In our
What about video games? Can I come over to the library and check out some video games?
So we don't have them yet, but we're in the process of getting that. But we're part of the Montgomery County system, and there are libraries where you can borrow from their library. It'll come to Pottstown. You can pick it up at Pottstown and then return it back. So there is video games that you can get from our consortium. So it would be one of those where you would put a hold on it and it would travel through the pony and come to Pottstown Library, and then you could pick it up at
What about if I'm getting ready to go to my Bahamian cruise and I'm going to be going to other countries and I'm going to need a passport? Can I come to the library and get help with my passport?
Absolutely. We are an official passport acceptance facility. We do have a lot of appointments. So that's something you don't want to just walk in and do. You want to call and make an appointment. But we, get you from start to finish. We even take it to the post office. But right now we have 6 passport agents and 3 in training. So we can definitely, help you whenever the library's open. There's a passport agent.
First passport.
Yes, yes. I couldn't get my passport there because, conflict of interest. But
what about this? Let's say I'm studying for my real estate license and I took the classes virtually online, and then now I have to take the test. Can I come to the library and sign up for test proctoring?
Yes. Yes, we have. Generally, for most of them, the test proctor needs to be monitored or observed by someone who has a master's degree.
Okay.
And we have a number of people at our library who have a master's degree. So we generally have someone from open to close. Again, that's another thing we recommend that you
make an appointment. But you'd have to make an appointment because the right proctor
has to be there. Yes.
And usually you have to send, like when I did it, I'm saying this because that's where I went to take my test.
Yeah.
They send the materials to the library.
Yep.
Like you don't take your own test materials.
Sure, right.
The test materials are at the library.
Right,
the proctor opens up the package and then gives you the test.
You can't have that in advance.
No.
Right.
You could cheat.
You could cheat.
Right.
Not you.
What else? What else can we do there? What about if I'm looking for a job and I need some resources to help myself find a job? Can I go to the library?
We have computer stations that are dedicated just for job searching. We offer as much help as we can in-house. If you have the computer navigation questions, things like that, we'll do our best to decipher paperwork if we can. But we are in the process of developing where someone in Montgomery County called it the Community Services Bible. So it's basically going to be all kinds of services in Montgomery County that people can. So we want to partner with groups that help with resume writing, that help with interview skills.
So you can plug people into services that are
exactly,
available.
and we work very closely with CareerLink PA. So we do have a lot of services. Of course, we do copying, faxing. You can bring a flash drive in. We have wireless printing that is back up and running. Yay! That went down during the pandemic, and we just got it back up.
Wow!
So that was a win for us.
Right.
We have, and I see that Bill Grobley reminded me of notary services. So
that's very good to know.
We have 2 notaries.
Sometimes people will come in here and they'll be like, "Can you notarize something?"
Send them down to the library.
You don't have a notary?
No, we do, but we don't typically notarize things that we didn't prepare.
Oh, okay.
Right? So
I used to go when Jack was running his joint. I used to go and they used to notarize stuff for me all the time.
I would notarize stuff for you.
All right.
And not just like some rando off the street.
But you can send them to the library.
Yeah, now I know that.
Yep.
Yeah. So is there a cost for notary services?
So we do state minimum costs.
Okay.
So it generally it's the best rule of thumb is $5 per signature. Right. Sometimes it will just be $5 even if it's multiple signatures. It really just depends. But we just do the state minimums and we don't charge any clerical. So we probably are one of the cheapest in town.
Right. Okay. That is great to know.
Yeah, and that that just directly benefits the library. The funds and all that just goes right back to the library. Right. So Let me try to think what else.
So long story short, we've just been talking for about 5-10 minutes, maybe, about all kinds of stuff that happen at the library that aren't related to books.
Correct.
And I did that on purpose because I think it's a good segue into the next thing that we're going to talk about.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of people in our community that don't realize the importance of a library because they say stupid things like, well, just nerds go there. I'm not a nerd. I don't even read books. I hate books. I don't want to learn anything new. I just want to keep doing things the way I've always done. But that person, even though they're short-sighted and small-minded, might need to get their passport.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
Maybe.
sure.
Right? They
Yeah.
might have to get something that's notarized.
Right.
Their kid might want to try a new video game. And instead of spending $110 on the new video game, they can try it from the library first before they spend the money.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm going through that thing, because unfortunately, people around here seem to underappreciate the library, right?
I think that's
Yep.
probably true for most
libraries.
Yeah.
People don't know what's going on. You have all kinds of kids programs.
They don't know.
If you're a grandparent or a parent or an aunt, an uncle, brother, sister who's trying to take care of some kids and keep them busy, there's a list of programs at the library as long as your freaking arm.
It is.
If you're an adult looking to stay busy, if you're retired or underemployed,
I'll put the link to
and are looking for some way to keep your mind occupied, there's a whole list of programs at the library,
Absolutely.
right?
And there's passive things that you can do without having to be a formal program.
Right.
You know, there's board games at the library.
Music, you can check out music.
Check out music. You can, there's museum passes.
Yes, that's what Diane Cherry Crum is just saying.
Oh, fun. Thank you, Diane.
Oh, yeah. So what about the museum passes? Because I think Darlene was talking about that.
So
recently.
we have museum passes. There's a page on our website that lists all the museum passes that we have. But essentially, you check out a museum pass, and we try to have them be for a minimum of 4 people. We try and get a maximum people we can. You check out the pass, you go, each pass has their own rules, but it comes in a little baggie that has the rules on it and what it entails. And you go and you can do the American Revolution Museum, but Elmwood Zoo's closed right now for renovations. But when they open back up in March, Elmwood Zoo, there's just a lot of different places that you can go that would cost you, for a family of 4 or 6, it would cost you, a lot of money.
Sure.
And you can use the museum pass from the library, and it's of no charge
That's
to you.
fantastic.
So yeah,
I had no idea that
really
even existed until somebody mentioned it. So yeah, that's another great thing. So for families that are on a limited budget, well, first of all, you can go and check out books for free.
Absolutely.
Right, and movies. So I posted the link to the calendar of events. If you've got, little kids and you can go during the day, I see all of these things. There's Mother Goose Baby Lap Sit.
Yep.
Lego Club. Dart Dogs. Dogs are readers too.
Yes.
So if you are a dog lover, which I know there's lots of them, you can go and read to a dog.
Yep.
How cute.
Or just pet them. We like to have you read to them too, but
right.
And
maybe that might be good for a kid that is maybe not as interested in books. Maybe they would be interested if they were reading to a dog. Teen time book talk. So you've got some for the teens and tweens.
Absolutely.
Right. And then there's adult activities. I see you've got a bilingual story time.
Yep.
On Tuesdays, and garden club, story and craft, adult writers group. We had Josh on the show last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. There's afternoon adult crafting. You guys, it's ridiculous. There's Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes. Yeah.
There's Saturday the 18th, make your own mini succulent garden. Like what?
Yeah.
Mr. Mike was Harrison when I took Harrison when he was little. Mr. Mike was there.
Mr. Mike's awesome.
Yeah. I plays the guitar, right?
He does and sings.
Yeah.
So let's get into this, because Susie Marcucci Kennedy's asking a good question, and then we'll start talking about some of the challenges that the library are facing. Susie Marcucci Kennedy, who is our literary liaison, by the way, so this is an appropriate question for our literary liaison to ask. Can you share the
Wish list.
The wish list of donations that the library would like. But so my first response to her was, cash moves
money.
everything around me.
Yeah.
Just
Exactly.
give the money,
Cash
right?
money.
But if somebody can't come up with some cash,
Right.
what are the other types of things that the library wants to take?
So we do take book donations. Now, I'm going to preface that with we always say if you wouldn't give it as a gift to someone, don't give it to the library.
Right.
So like if it's been in your basement all the time, or
Your moldy old
funky,
Porto
or
Max.
Maybe it's like so full of like highlighters and underlines.
Exactly.
And it's,
like maybe don't donate those.
Right.
But so we do take book and
But you're looking for quality stuff
We're looking
that
for
can.
So, and those go to the Friends of the Library, and they sell them for.
Well, they go to us first.
Okay.
And we go through and see if there's anything that we can put into the collection.
Okay.
So if there's something that we either don't have, or maybe the donated copy is in better shape than the one that's been circulating for a couple of years, we'll replace those out. And then when we're finished with it, we give that to the Friends of the Library, and they get to look through it, and then they decide what they want to keep to put on their shelves to sell in the book nook.
Right.
And just a little side, the book nook is moving to the other side of the main floor, so they have a little bit of extra room. And the Friends of the Library just donated 3 really great chairs that are very popular. So we're trying to get some more comfortable furniture in the library because we want to encourage people to kind of hang out a little bit. There's some people that's the only place they can go during the day. There's other people who maybe they're working from home. A lot of people are stuck working from home. Maybe they just need to be around people.
Maybe they just want a little change of
change of scenery.
Right.
We have the Wi-Fi. We have the public Wi-Fi on all the time. And we have tables and chairs and things that people can work from. And things
so
like
if somebody did have some comfortable chairs that they wanted to donate, would you want to take a look at them first?
I will. I think I would like to take a look at them
so
first.
Maybe send an email and say, hey, I've got these chairs. Here's.
But I would say pretty much anything that you think the library could use, give us a phone call. It's much easier for us to kind of talk to you and say, yeah, that's something we could take. And if we can't, we often try to find some place that we can tell you where you can take it,
right,
that it can do the most good.
Maybe if you have an extra bunny cake pan,
right?
It's clean.
We do take cake pans. We just got a donation of some cake pans last week. It was kind of fun because people use all of the ones that we have, but and we are trying to build the library of things. We're talking about. Some libraries have done a seed swap. So we're going to try and figure that out if we can do a seed swap or things like that. So if you have seeds to donate, you could do that as well. But
don't just go down and drop some stuff off at the front porch of the library, because that is littering and dumping.
Right.
It is.
Don't do that.
Ray Maury is asking, does the library take books that are in languages other than English?
We do.
Okay.
We do.
Great.
And like I said, we have our acquisition staff evaluates them, and if it's something we can put in the collection, we definitely will. We are expanding. Last year, we got a grant from the Pottstown Health and Wellness Foundation that helped us with our Health and Wellness Festival, but also helped us to create a more robust Spanish-speaking collection, so that we have like health books and nonfiction books, as well as some fiction books as well. But we're, especially since we offer bilingual story times and things like that, we're trying to offer more languages. And if there's a book that we don't have, we can get a book from anywhere. We participate in the ILO, which is Interlibrary Loan. So we can go even beyond Montgomery County and get you books from like universities and things like that too, through the ILO system. So, we pretty much can help you with just about find anything.
Right.
So, yeah.
Great.
All right. So let's get into the challenges facing the library.
Right.
I think
the question about donations and cash is a good
That's a good one.
Yeah.
We've just spent a half an hour talking about all the great things at the library. So now let's talk about why we want to keep this going.
If you would like to see the library continue to do these things, what is going to be needed? So we talked about funding. So talk about the funding. Like, where does the money come from to run the library?
So we do get some state aid, and then we serve 4 municipalities. When you combine the state aid and the 4 municipalities, that makes about 45 to 48% of our total budget. So the library needs to come up with 50 to 52% of the budget, which that's a significant amount.
Sure.
What is your annual budget? I'm not looking for the penny, but like roughly
It's
the
like
amount.
750,000
All right.
a year.
All right. And the 4 municipalities are Pottstown.
Pottstown Borough,
Yeah.
West Pottsgrove, Lower Pottsgrove, and Upper Pottsgrove. That is the regional
Right.
public library with the Pottsgroves and Pottstown.
Where do
Borough.
the fivers go to the library? One night
They
versus
are in
five.
Chester County.
But I bet you they use ours.
They do.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We can connect Berks County cards. We can connect Chester County cards. Like we can make it work for you that you can get your services through the Pottstown Library. You just have to come in and see us.
They probably go down to the Exton Library is probably their library. That's
Probably
that's the one I can think of. I don't
They
think
come
there's.
here.
Yeah,
I'm sure they do.
North Coventry,
Yeah.
But I'm
and
saying,
Chester
like,
are coming here.
As far as Chester County is concerned, I think Exton's the closest one to us. That's the only one I can think of in northern Chester County.
So, and part of our funding, with Pennsylvania Library Code is you're really only supposed to get seek out funding from your service area.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody knows that we are one of the lower income libraries in the consortium in the county, Montgomery County. Some of the townships are choosing to not fund us any longer. And many have not been able to increase their funding to us for a number of years.
Right.
And we all know inflation is crazy, and we just running the building is costing us a lot more money.
And just utilities.
Exactly.
I mean,
we really need to pay our staff better. We don't, when we're trying to stay within our means, but I would love to be able to pay. This staff works so hard day in and day out, and they're passionate about this community. And I would
the
love
last thing you want is the people at the library who, like you said, you have an advanced degree, you have a master's degree, right? And there's other people at the library with advanced degrees.
A lot of people with master's degrees.
The last thing we want to do is have a library where our employees have to come in and use the library resources to apply for aid. Like that's not a situation that we want to be in. Not to mention the fact that if you do have good, hardworking people with master's degree, they can go someplace else and make a hell of a lot more money.
Exactly.
I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine who's a historian, and he works in the public sector and makes a fraction of what he would if he went to a corporation and became an archivist or a historian for a corporation.
Absolutely.
Those guys are getting 6-figure salaries.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, he's not even making $50,000 a year for the same type of work.
Right.
So right on your site, under fundraisers, it lists the municipalities that support the library, that the library serves, your service area, as you said, and how much each is paying. Now these numbers are only accurate through 2021, but we know in Pottstown Borough gives 3%.
We have a millage.
A millage, right? But every time somebody goes and gets a tax assessment appeal,
right,
and their tax gets lowered, or Pottstown Hospital comes off the tax rolls at however many that
directly affects the library.
Directly affects the library. So
there's some case law.
Every time a property comes off the tax rolls for another nonprofit in town, it not only affects our kids at the schools, but it affects the library.
Right.
It does.
So there's a trade-off there to be had, right?
Sure.
So we're losing funding because of the other nonprofit activities in the borough of Pottstown. Right. So that is, we're not making that up. We're not doing that to disparage anybody. It is an absolute fact of life.
Right. Right. So
now there is some case law coming out that the library or the hospital may not be able to claim tax exempt status anymore. Yep. And the reason is because the pay that they're giving to their administrative staff is like the judge's comment on it was eye-popping. So what they're saying is, because the administrators of the library are making excuse me, the hospital.
I was like, not
Are-
me.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to break this down for people.
Yeah.
Because those salaries are so, as the judge is finding, exorbitant.
Yeah.
Right?
How can you claim to be?
How can you claim to be nonprofit? Also, when they're reporting what they're doing, it seems to the judge that they're more focused on the bottom line, making profits than on care.
Right.
So if that's the case, then they should be exposed to having to pay those real estate taxes.
That would be fantastic.
That would be a huge ruling, huge ruling.
Yeah.
And maybe if it doesn't change the way those places are taxed, maybe it will change the level of care, or they're caring about care.
Right.
So maybe either way, we make a win.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what we're hearing is that because of some decisions that are made by other townships, the library is not getting the funding that it used to.
Right. So Lower Pottsgrove also has a millage.
No, Lower Pottsgrove
Per capita.
They give us they just have a line item in their budget.
Okay.
I mean, and they're generous, but
Right.
I mean, it hasn't changed.
Right.
It hasn't increased with the costs.
Right. But Upper Pottsgrove considerably cut their funding, and I'm taking this right off the webpage, from $32,000 in 2020 to $5,000 in 2021.
Are you kidding me?
So it's not been updated. Mindy, what's the number now? It would be zero. So
It's
Upper
zero.
Pottsgrove
Isn't given
is
anything.
now giving
They didn't
nothing.
give us anything in 2022, and the budget they had us on the budget line for $5,000 for 2022, but I was told that just because it's on the budget doesn't mean it's going to get paid.
Right.
What is their problem? Like, why? What's their reasoning for not wanting to support the library? That doesn't make
They had
any
to cut it
sense.
somewhere. My guess is that they had to cut it somewhere, and that's where it got cut from.
Come on, people.
And then West
That's
Pottsgrove went from 2020 and 2019 to $10,000 from $20,000 in 2019 to $10,000 in 2021, and they're still at that
And they're
same
still
number.
paying that,
Yeah,
yes.
so that's those are some significant decreases to your $700 and whatever $1,000 budget.
And when the
Grovers. Grovers.
Come on, Grovers.
No, that's some serious
What's
shiznit.
going on up there?
What's
'Cause,
going
You're
on?
following the story of the other story that's going on.
Well,
in
it seems Upper
Pottsgrove?
Pottsgrove, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've also read articles where Upper Pottsgrove, the leadership of Upper Pottsgrove complains about paving roads. So what I'm hearing is Upper Pottsgrove would prefer to be uneducated, dirt driving hillbillies. Seriously.
Right.
If that's what you want to do, that's all fine and good. But remember, folks, it's 2023.
But they do want to build a new building.
Yeah, on land that was supposed to be preserved.
Right.
There's a lawsuit over that
We're
too.
calling you out.
Upper Pottsgrove,
Grovers.
think about the optics of this for your township. How's it going to reflect on your
Mhm.
township when
Mhm.
people read in the newspaper you don't maintain your agreements to preserve open space.
Yeah.
You don't want to pave your roads.
And
You don't
want
want
to support the library.
You don't want to support the library. There's a big controversy
need
about
to
bringing
move.
in public water and public sewer.
We need to move.
from where I live. Yes, I
Move
live in
to-
Upper Pottsgrove.
Move to Pottstown.
I should move to
Yes,
Pottsgrove.
move to Pottstown. Katie Clark-Pinko is saying that the judge ruled this week for Pottstown Hospital to have to pay taxes again.
Good.
Yep, great, love it, dig it. So that's a challenge. Is that
It is.
so now you were maybe having to make up 52% of the budget. Maybe it's a little bit more now because of those,
It is.
of those cuts.
It
So
is.
you've got to go after some grants, I'm sure,
Mhm.
right?
And
your
then
own-
we just try and do fundraising.
try to do fundraising. Those are big numbers to hit. So
They're huge numbers.
roughly
Yeah.
50. Would you say 750 or 795?
750.
750. So it's 370.
Well, it's probably a little bit more than
Yeah. So
750,
let's
but
call it around $400,000. Those are
Mhm.
big. That's a big number
That's
to
a lot of money.
fundraise for,
Mhm.
right? So you hope for some planned giving,
Exactly.
maybe.
Yes, we're starting a planned giving
Yeah.
program in March. Like
Right.
we hadn't done that before, but we're starting an official formed,
Yes.
structured
Right.
planned giving.
Right.
So keep your eye on your
Yeah.
mailboxes.
Yes. And you've got capital expenses that
Yes.
you need to. So you've got your operating budget,
Yep.
right? But then you've got capital. You've got an old building,
Very old
Which
building.
was
1915.
1915.
Mhm.
So it's over 100 years old. It was the original Pottstown Post Office.
Mhm.
And it's a lovely building. And I know that there were some upgrades and renovations in 2016.
Mhm.
But there's some significant stuff.
Yes.
Old pipes, old wiring, all of that. You've
Absolutely.
got to be accessible.
Mhm.
Have handicap accessibility
Absolutely.
and all of that stuff. So
Absolutely.
you'll be kicking off some sort of a capital campaign, I'm sure.
In the next few years, yes, we're in the process of making it us ready for a capital campaign. And we're just kind of tackling the bigger building problems as they come. I mean, it is a very old building. And there's a lot that we'd like to do with it. And I know that a lot of the patrons are saying, they really would love to come there for private meeting space. We don't have any private meeting space.
Rooms, right?
Right.
So, where does Josh's book?
So he meets up in the mezzanine area. So it's semi-private, but you can hear like the passport room from there.
Right.
My office doesn't have walls; don't go all the way up to the ceiling. Okay. And the HVAC system is messed up, so it's like 88 degrees in my office even in the winter.
Right.
So fun.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that building things, and the furniture's kind of old, and we just want it to feel more welcoming. I'm looking for to do more signage to make it directional, so people when they come in they can see where they want, which direction they want to go. Exactly.
Call them now. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
there's shout outs for the around the world.
It's a wine tasting fundraiser.
That was our 100th anniversary. Yes.
Yeah.
The staff created that, so thank you so much. Yeah, that was we did that last May. For our 100th anniversary was in 2021, but we the planning got pushed back because of the pandemic, so we ended up doing it in 2022. But that was, and we had a theme last year. We decided to call Rediscover Us, and we have a banner that says "Welcome Back, Rediscover Us." And this year, our theme is Reimagine Us. We want people to understand that we're more than just books; that we have lots of things that we offer, and with funding, we could do a lot more than we are. So that's kind of been our, we're kind of trying to find our way of filling that gap of funding, and we're doing the best that we can.
Right.
There's a lot to do.
There's a lot to do.
Maybe if the people from those townships would send their kids to the library, the kids would get smarter and would help them figure out their problems.
That would still be a generation away. That would take a little while.
Yeah, but it's better starting now.
Yeah. So, in addition to fundraising, funding is always for any nonprofit.
Absolutely,
always a major, a major concern. But I'm sure you've got other challenges that facility. We talked about facilities. The other challenges that come with being an open space, an open public space.
True. And I am very passionate about being welcoming to the community and allowing everyone to come in. We want to be a resource space. Where we might not be able to solve people's problems, but we definitely can help you find the resources and the next steps.
Right.
And sometimes that means that we'll have people that are hanging out in the library that maybe I know we sometimes get uncomfortable when we see people experiencing homelessness and things like that. But I'm hoping that we can understand that everybo's human, and the library is a fundamental human right for people who live in the area. And, our staff this year is going through a lot of training. We're taking, I don't know if you've ever heard of Ryan Dowd, but he has a whole series that's called Librarian's Guide to Homelessness. And it teaches about empathy and things like that. And so we're really kind of,
and I'm sure that there's some, crisis management that
absolutely.
That
and frankly, people aren't trained in this. Like librarians aren't trained in this. So I'm trying to offer some training for my staff and for my board and for the friends of the library, so that we can all kind of really serve the community with empathy and really make everyone
identify needs.
Exactly, identify needs.
Maybe they
find
maybe take
resources.
CPR courses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're really, trying to be a multifaceted, resource for people. And yeah,
it's another
another
thing that you
it's
need
another
funding
hurdle.
for.
Exactly.
Yes,
but
there are no obstacles, only expenses.
Exactly.
Right?
But I want to shout out to the staff. Like, this staff has really, we pushed through the pandemic. We reconfigured how we provide services. We, tried to be there for as much as we could for the community. And this staff has burned out. We're still 9 staff members short of what we were.
Wow.
Pre-pandemic. So they're taking a lot of the burden on, and they're doing it with a smile, and they're really kicking butt. Like, I'm really proud of this staff.
Right.
And, I'm very protective of the staff. So if you come in and are rude to them, I will let you know that's not acceptable. But other than that, we would love for it to be like a welcoming, safe place for people to come and bring their children and have access to the internet and have access to things. I mean, we circulate hotspots, so if people need Wi-Fi at home, they can get a hotspot.
So that's another thing that you can rent from the library.
Wow. So yeah, but the staff is really great and caring, and in the gaps of where we don't have the tools, we're trying to fill that with training so that people can feel empowered to do their jobs and feel like they're making a difference in the community. So there's that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Good stuff. Dennis Arms is chiming in. He's one of your board members. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. So he
Hi,
says we need board members and committee members to help the library move forward. Background in fundraising, finance, facilities are major needs. All right. So if you can help out at all, if you've got any of those backgrounds or just are enthusiastic about libraries, I just read 2 books about libraries. I read The Paris Library, and I read The Personal Librarian. And it's both really, really good books that make you want to go and hang out at the library.
Yeah.
Yeah. But without that, the Nazis.
Fun.
That was the
without the Nazis.
the Paris Library. So you brought a little show and tell there. I asked you to bring some books. It is Black History Month in February, and then Women's History Month is coming up in March.
Yes.
So why don't you show us a little show and tell what you got there?
So I'm going to give a shout out to my head of circulation, James Kerrigan. I told him what we were doing, and I've had so many meetings the last 2 weeks. He just offered to pull these out for me. So these are some of his favorites. He gave me 2 fiction and 2 nonfiction, 2 biographies, I should say. So, and then he typed me up a little synopsis of each book, because I've not read all of these books, but sure he has, because he just reads a million books. So thank you, James. So the first one is a Toni Morrison book. Everybody loves Toni Morrison.
I've never read anything by Toni Morrison.
Really?
I'm embarrassed to say.
That's
sad
for you.
Well, I have a library card, so I know
you can check it out. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
So this is Beloved by Toni Morrison, and James tells me that this is a novel inspired by the true life of Margaret Garner, who was an enslaved woman who tried to escape from slavery with her children. The novel uses the story of one family living in a haunted home to reflect on the difficult wounds left by the United States by slavery and racism. So
they could use that Paranormal Hunters.
They could check them out at the same time. And then,
I did find that show, the Paranormal show.
The podcast.
Fun, yeah.
I put the link up in the comments.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, let's see. This one is...
That's James Baldwin.
Yes, Early Novels and Stories by James Baldwin.
I've read Go Tell It on the Mountain. I've read parts of Giovanni's Room. Can't say I've ever read Another Country, and I've read Going to Meet the Man. Those are all great books. James Baldwin is a great writer and American novelist, and wrote extensively on the Black experience.
Exactly. That's exactly what James wrote. Very good. Yeah. Explores Black life in the 20th century.
Yeah. James Baldwin and his books are excellent. You can go onto like YouTube and watch interviews with James Baldwin that occurred in the 60s and 70s. He's brilliant. One of the best public speakers on Black history and issues affecting the Black community. really excellent philosophy. Really one of the best Black minds in American history. I could not recommend his stuff enough.
This book will be back at the library. You can check it out.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're ready and available.
Then we have Wrapped in Rainbows by Valerie Boyd. And this is a biography of a writer, folklorist, and anthropologist, Zora Neale Hurston. Explores the life of one of the most influential figures of the Harlem Renaissance. Readers will see how her adventurous life inspired her novels, including her classic, Their Eyes Were Watching God. So, and this one says it's the winner of the 2003 Southern Book Critics Circle Award. Okay, interesting. And then, last but certainly not least, is Bayard Rustin, Troubles I've Seen by Jervis Anderson. This biography of civil rights activist, pacifist, and organizer Bayard Rustin discusses his work from an influence on civil rights movements around the world. Rustin was one of the organizers of the 1963 March on Washington and organized freedom rides into segregated states. Rustin was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously by President Obama in 2013. So
Those
this
all sound like great books.
Yes. So thank you, James,
Yes,
for your
thank you.
suggestions. And that's another thing is if you don't know what you want to read, come to ask us. Like we do reading, we call it reading advisory, but it's basically helping you find your next fun book to read.
Right.
So, and we do, nonfiction, fiction.
Do you have a lot of travel books?
We do have a lot of travel
so
books.
I'm planning a trip this summer, and I'm going to 3 places that I know nothing about.
Oh, fun! And if we don't have it, again, we can get it for you.
Right.
We also have a getaways tower, like when you come right in the door, and it has free materials for all kinds of places, mostly in Pennsylvania, but some other places like Niagara Falls and things like that. They're tour books that you can come and take. And they're free. You can just come and take this.
That would be good for Susie Marcucci Kennedy for her Do Something New Wednesday.
So I'm going to also give some people some stuff that they can do to stay on track with our theme for Black History Month in February. I did some more local research. So I have another story to tell. Okay. I have a couple of stories to tell, and they're all related to Pottstown. All of them are related to Pottstown. And I know for a fact, because I
think I know what that building is.
You know exactly what that building is. I know for a fact that every single one of these people that I'm talking about today, more information could be found on them by going to the library. Sure. Yes. So if I say something that you find interesting,
I would like to learn more about
it. My challenge to you is to go to the Pottstown Library and, just like Mindy just suggested, go in there and say, I heard about these famous people, not famous, but people from Pottstown. I want to learn more. And I'm sure your archivist, what's his name? The guy, the checkout guy?
James.
The head of circulation.
James, yes, he's the head of circulation.
James can help you. So I'm going to talk about the roller mills. Everybody should know that the roller mills is located at the corner of College Drive and South Hanover Street.
And also that the Roller Mills is one of the oldest continually operating businesses in the United States.
Correct.
Right.
Now, the location has moved.
Correct.
But that building right there, too, parts of it date back to the 1720s, which make it one of the oldest mills in America, right? Right here in Pottstown. So it's been owned by a bunch of different people, but when it first was opened, it was established by the Potts family. It was owned by John Potts. By the time of the Civil War, the mill was owned by Jesse Ives, a prominent abolition and anti-slavery activist. Ives was among those who helped turn the mill and several nearby homes into important stops on the Underground Railroad as slaves sought to escape north. So when you are thinking about the Underground Railroad and Black History Month for Black History, and you want to think about what a stop on the Underground Railroad looked like, drive by the mill. Right?
There might be some ghost activity in that
there
building.
could be. The fugitive slaves would come up from Chester County, and their Chester County was the first stop coming over the Mason-Dixon line, right? So then as they're moving north, they would come up to the area of Pottstown, now known as Pottstown, and they'd come to the mill. And what they were doing was they were helping those people move forward. Now, there's some additional records about this Underground Railroad information that I'm talking about, this Underground Railroad history at the Pine Forge Academy. And remember, on our last episode, we talked about the Rudder Mansion, which is on the campus of the Pine Forge campus. The Rudder Mansion is on the Pine Forge campus. There are tunnels in the basement that were used
we talked about that.
first to hide out from Indians, then to secret away slaves, runaway slaves. So that talks about that. I wanted to get into this too because I went and looked up a book, and I had help with this. So again, I want to give a big shout out to Todd Bainbridge from the Pottstown Area History Collective. Again, he did all the research for me on this so that I could tell the story. And I looked up some people who were listed in a book about Montgomery County. They were very well listed, and there's a lot of stories here. So I'm just going to get into a little bit of them. John P. Rudder, his brother Charles and Joseph Need, are predominantly before me. This is the writer talking about who he knows in this area as predominant abolitionists. We've talked about the Need family before. Joseph Need's son, Horace Need, was a Civil War veteran. He was wounded early in the Civil War and then spent his time kind of in the reserves. And one of the things that he did after the Civil War, this is Horace Need, was helped with the re-education or the education of freed slaves in the South. He ran the department, which was under the Army, that helped to educate these people who are now free. So that's Horace Need. And now that I see that his father was an abolitionist, maybe that explains why he was so interested in going off to fight in the Civil War, because he came from a family of abolitionists. They clearly were not pacifists because he's going to fight some Confederates. And when he gets injured and can't no longer serve, moves into auxiliary roles, one of them being educating, teaching the freed black slave. So I thought that was interesting. And then what they talk about is that there were some other people related to these folks. There were others interested in behalf of the cause being abolition. Jesse Ives, who we just talked about, was the owner of the mill. His father-in-law, Charles Rudder, and John Titlow. On one occasion, John Titlow was taking 3 slaves to the next Underground Railroad station, having them dressed in women's clothes, when he was met by the owners who were looking for them. They, without stopping, casted mere glances into the wagon and inquired if the 3 men had been seen. But seeing women, they just passed on, and the slaves were able to escape.
Yes, seriously.
Wow.
Now remember why?
Some story.
Yeah, remember why these people were they were putting themselves at peril because there was a law on the books.
There was a law saying that every person had to try to assist in capturing runaway slaves.
Capturing runaway slaves. So these guys were
risking their own lives.
Correct.
Yeah, they could have been sent to jail or worse.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. We talked about some of these stuff. Some of these slave catchers would literally start gun battles in order to try to recapture these slaves. And some of the slaves that they were capturing were never slaves at all. They were just making these stories up to try to go get people to help them do whatever they wanted to do. There was another story here too that I wanted to read. The Rudders, Joseph Need, Henry Potts, and a few others. Now, Henry Potts, Joseph Need, and a bunch of the Rudders are buried over at Edgewood Cemetery.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, I worked on the Henry Potts plot at the last cleanup in the fall. So if you go and take a walk around Edgewood Cemetery, you'll find the graves of these people that I'm talking about.
Was he a Potts of the Potts family?
Yes, he was like a grandson.
I wonder why he wasn't buried at the.
But because that was full probably by the time, and there are some other people.
No room.
Plus, they had like a really nice family plot there. Plus, that prominent family wants to be in an area where people are gonna. That's the idea there. So it says here that in rendering assistance to fugitives, many were concealed and sheltered in their barns, outhouses, and kitchens. And when opportunity came, they were sent further at night by an old color man who himself was a runaway slave. So in my last episode, we talked about those people that the black community that was out by Hopewell.
Mhm.
We know that there was a Black community over in Coventryville.
Right.
Last year, I talked about the folks from the Ganges
Mhm.
who were freed from a slave ship. So when I read these stories about there was an old colored man who helped these folks that I'm talking about, it's good possibility that this colored man was from one of these communities
Right.
that we've talked about
Right.
on Porchcast.
Mhm.
I find that interesting because these are people that lived right here in our
Right here.
community.
Yeah.
They own properties that we can still go and look at today. And they were all members of this abolitionist society and were doing things to try to take advantage of helping people
Right.
get free.
Makes me proud that we have
That's
like
right.
that history in Pottstown, that there were so many people that were
I will
abolitionists and trying to do the right thing.
I will post this article up and you will recognize a lot of the names. There's people that are mentioned in here, and almost all of the last names are people who their family names still exist within our community. The one thing that I did talk about, and this article talks about, and I'm just going to summarize it rather than read it. It talks about the fact that some of the preachers, some of the churches in this area were pro-slavery, to say it a different way, where they were cooperating with slave catchers and everything else, right? But this article says that one of the churches that was prominently an abolitionist church was Christ Episcopal Church, which is in the 300 block of East High Street, so 316 East High Street.
Right.
And in this article, he actually says that the preacher at Christ Episcopal Church on Sundays from the pulpit would speak out and talk about, helping slaves and being an abolitionist, which, if you think about it, was an illegal act. That was an act of protest to say we're going to be part of this abolition movement.
We're going to buck the law.
We're going to buck the law.
Is Christ Episcopal Church one of the ones that was recently?
Yes, yes, it was.
So just interesting.
They have a history.
Long history of helping
breaking the law,
of helping their helping their fellow man.
Yeah, I found that very interesting.
Right.
So if you
Tying
want
it right back into some current events. Pat Salonek is chiming in. Thanks for tuning in. West Streeterville Road and South Hanover Street was known as
Titlo's Corner. So there you go. So I thought that was some really, I thought that was really super interesting stuff, and a lot of local places that you can, some of us take a walk to. So again, those 3 local places that are right here in Pottstown that were part of the Underground Railroad or the abolitionist movement was the Roller Mills. If you go up to Pine Forge, the Thomas Rudder Mansion. I mentioned Edgewood Cemetery, where you can go and see where some of these people are buried. And then 316 East High Street is a location of Christ Episcopal Church, where their preacher was preaching rabble-rousing from the pulpit.
Love it. Good stuff. All right, it's 7:00. Do have a few things to go over with news and hopefully not on tight time frame, Mindy. This is our typical MO. We just go over a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to buzz through this stuff pretty quick. This is the Montgomery County Community College Foundation presents Uncovering the Benefits of Non-Cash Assets. Did you send this to me, Matt? I don't know where I got this from. You can increase your potential impact and experience significant tax savings by giving non-cash assets. Here are some examples. So this is Wednesday, February 22nd at 8 a.m., but via Zoom, so you can still wear your pajamas. It's early morning meeting. The benefits of non-cash assets.
Who's doing that?
Montgomery County Community College Foundation.
Okay.
Presented by Brad Caswell, VP of Business Development for Charitable Solutions.
So they're looking for people to donate stuff to them.
Yep.
That's basically
farm commodities, retirement benefits, commercial or residential real estate, stocks, business interests, closely held, privately held stock, planned giving, which you could also go to the library. Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay, this is from our friends at the YW. Came from Kenyatta, who I saw over the weekend. Inaugural community outreach event. I would first of all like to say thank you for not saying first annual. Inaugural community outreach event. Be a part of the Change, Hope, and Inspiration. Free household items. This is February 19th, which is on Sunday. Community giveaway from 10:30 to 1 p.m. Pick up free items at Echo Hall, which is 301 King Street. YW has partnered with Charity Crossing for a day of giving. Together, we will offer the community free household, personal care, clothing items, and more. So everybody knows the cost of groceries and other necessities are going up, up, up. So if you know somebody that is in need, you can go and get some free household items on February 19th from 10:30 to 1 at Echo Hall, 301 King Street. That is in conjunction with the YW's Random Acts of Kindness Week. We're in Random Acts of Kindness Week. So they've had a bunch of stuff all week. Giveaways, feminine hygiene products, period poverty is a real issue. That was on Monday. Children's books, socks, toys. So tomorrow is diapers and random items. We're thrilled to be able to supply free diapers with it to help with the expense. That is at the Early Education Center. And then the community giveaway on Sunday. So that is all good stuff from our friends at the YW. Household and hazardous waste. Speaking of trash, don't just dump this stuff by the side of the road, people. So this is, you need to register for this, montcoparecycles.org. It is, there's a list of dates. The closest one is, there's one in Royersford. Oh, that's in September. The next closest one is Saturday, April 29th. It is at Boyertown Middle School East on Big Road in Gilbertsville. I've been to this hazardous waste drop off before. It's super easy. You don't even have to get out of your car. They come in, they zoop, take it right out of your car. There is a list of things that they will take. Too long for me to list, but this is Saturday, April 29th. montcoparecycles.org. Go to their website and you can recycle all your old paint thinners and swim pool chemicals, solvents, all that kind of stuff that you should not be putting into the trash, please. Designer bag bingo. I said it last week. I don't get it, but people love it. This is at Brookside Country Club, and it benefits the Rotary Youth Programs, Saturday, February 26th at 11 a.m. I don't know where you go to sign up for this, but just I'm sure that you can Google Pottstown Rotary Club or go to the Pottstown Rotary Club Facebook page and find it there. Art Fusion, just like the library, too many activities to mention. So just go to their site. They are looking for folks. They need 2 more students to run their Mosaic House Number program, which begins on March 4th. Really cute project. Veterans Island has a fundraiser on March 9th at Soul Joel's Comedy Fundraiser, Thursday, March 9th from 7 to 8:30. I'm sure that it will be great. They do a great job there.
I did get in touch with Mike Murphy.
He's back on the grid?
Semi.
Okay. This Saturday, Sweetheart Saturday at the Carousel fundraiser for Pottstown Farm, February 18th, 6 to 10, cocktails, dinner, basket raffles, carousel, derby, horse race, $75 per ticket. Oh, wait, no, that was the early bird special. It was 2 for $125. Now it's 2 for $150.
What was that again?
At the
the carousel.
Carousel fundraiser for the farm. Yep. So, okay, that's what we got. Not too much. If anybody needs to put on an event, you should do it in February because there's nothing happening.
Right.
Well, people, and not that there's nothing happening. There's plenty happening, but it's just not a popular time because I think people get worried about the snow. So when you start your fundraising, library.
February.
Yeah, February. So, all right, Mindy Lipsky, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for directing the library, for providing a safe space for people, for providing free stuff. Cake pans. I would like somebody to go to the library, rent a cake pan, and make us a cake for the 3rd anniversary of Porchcast.
There you go.
There's the challenge, folks.
There's
bunny.
the challenge.
There's a bunny. Do you have a bunny cake?
I'm sure there's a bunny.
Okay, I would like a bunny cake, please.
So we want a bunny
My
cake
mom always made a bunny cake.
made with a library cake pan for our 3rd anniversary show.
Yes, please. Somebody make that happen.
All right.
Not me, because I can't bake for worth a darn.
No,
No.
I'm more of a chef myself.
Yeah, me too. My sister can make a good bunny cake. My mom used to make bunny cake. Right. So anyway, check out the library. Use their services. If you live in Upper Pottsgrove, please call your commissioners and tell them what the heck and that they should be funding a library. And we'll be on the lookout for your fundraisers. And you did the charity event a couple of years. It was really, really good. One of my staff people painted a chair.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it was really, the chairs were really beautiful.
Yes.
I think she did 2 years. You did 2 years in a.
We did 2 years, not in a row, but
Yeah.
we did 2 years. Yes.
So that was a great.
I think
event.
it's 2019 and 2021.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So continue to support and show up at your library and check it out, because it is not just books. That should be your tagline.
Not just books.
Not just books. Break it down.
The
man.
third anniversary show. I don't know. We don't know. Ask Joe Rusevich knows.
I think sometimes it should be on my it's on my calendar. But anyway, can you break it down, or are you coughing too bad?
No, I can break it down. Whatever it was cleared out. So
Okay.
I had an ear infection, and it's draining, and it's making my sinuses drain, and now I have this cough. It's cleared up. So I'll break it down. Listen, if you have questions, comments, or critique for Porchcast Pottstown, since we've kind of moved into the news realm and we're doing some serious news stories, sometimes we say something wrong or report something that later turns out to not be true. If you have uncovered something that we've done wrong, or just want to tell us how bad we suck, go to pottstownreports@gmail.com. pottstownreports@gmail.com. That is the way that you can ask questions, make comments, or critique the show. Pottstown Reports is a collaboration between ourselves and the folks over at Eye on Pottstown. The folks at Eye on Pottstown keep an eye on what is happening and the conversations that go on around the community. And then they report back to us and say, there's a hot topic brewing up. Do you guys want to cover this on Porchcast Pottstown? Sure. Why not? So if you want to let us know what's going on, you have questions, comments, or critique, pottstownreports@gmail.com. I am Matt Green. I am your local real estate expert. I, for 8 years now, going on 8 years, have been helping people buy and sell real estate. I also, this is another thing that I do. I help people develop business plans. I help people. Yeah. So if you want to become, like, if you've always dreamed of becoming a real estate investor, or you want to learn how to become a real estate investor, you want to learn what it takes to fix up a house, rehab a house, and then resell it, I can help you. And I offer those services to people for free in exchange for them one day becoming my client. Right?
Yes.
There's no fees. You have to put the work in. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm not doing this for you.
No,
I'm going to show you.
You're not giving them money to buy those properties either.
I might not.
Right.
But if they have a this is serious too. If they have a solid business plan and can prove to me that they're willing to work hard, I might be able to find them some investors, including myself. I provide those services to the community and always have for the past 8 years for free. Free. Hit me up. Amy Wolf is the office manager at Wolf Baldwin and Associates, bringing you fine legal service in the borough of Pottstown since 1973. That's 50 years, y'all.
50 years this year. Yep, I know.
Levi Wolf is your workman's compensation specialist. He's certified by the courts of Pennsylvania. You can't get any higher than that.
Yeah.
If you are experiencing a problem related to workman's compensation, you should probably call Levi.
Yes, would be a smart thing to do.
Guess how much you're going to have to pay for that consultation?
Zero.
Free. Hit them up. Wolf Baldwin and Associates. Mindy Lipsky is the executive director at the Pottstown Library. Head on over there. There's all kinds of things going on at the library. Even if you don't read, you can find something to do at the library.
Audiobook. If you don't read, there's an
So
audiobook.
yeah, you could listen to an audiobook while doing a activity kit at the library.
Yes. Do multiple things.
You do multiple things at one time. Please support the Pottstown Public Regional Library. That means you, Upper Pottsgrove, you're part of our region. You can't succeed. All right. This has been Porchcast Pottstown. Let's talk soon.